behind me we have a mechanical masticator, also known as a forestry mulcher, or a tracked skid steer with a mulching head. A masticator is one tool that allows us to mimic the effects of fire, but in a safer and more controlled manner. It rearranges the fuels, spreading them out over the landscape and reducing our flame lengths when we do reintroduce broadcast burning during a prescribed fire. It essentially has a rolling drum with teeth on it that can take in larger diameter woody species like brush and small trees up to about like a Folgers coffee can size, and it will chip the material in place, spreading the mulch or the slash out across the landscape. Essentially, this thing doesn't get rid of the fuels, it doesn't get rid of the plants and the material, but it does rearrange them from a more vertical position into a more spread out horizontal position on the landscape, which reduces our flame lengths when we do reintroduce fire during a broadcast prescribed burn. Before the era of fire suppression, when fires were more frequent, from lightning strikes on the ridges every 25, 30, 50 years, to even before, when native peoples were managing the land and were setting ground fires to produce food and fiber crops that were useful for them culturally. If we were to reintroduce fire to the landscape right now without first pre-treating it with mastication or hand crew thinning, we would run the risk of initiating a high intensity, high severity fire that would top kill our hardwood trees that we're trying to protect. It's a really important tool in forestry because it has the ability to treat large acreages in smaller amounts of time with reduced costs. So that when we do burn, we reduce the fuel loads, we safely reintroduce fire, but we don't actually kill the black oaks that we're trying to protect. Some of the limitations of the mechanical masticator are, it does have a lot of ground pressure. It does put a lot of pressure on the ground, so when our soils are more saturated after a rain, it can disturb the soil, and so we are always careful about where we allow these things to work. And when I first saw this piece of equipment, it really didn't sit well with me. I said, well, we can do this all by hand, and we can reintroduce fire safely if we just use the right prescriptions and time it right. But the more I've worked with these pieces of equipment, the more I see them as actually a really, really light hand on the landscape. They can maneuver through smaller diameter trees. They can avoid certain habitats. They can avoid wood rats' nests. When we do nesting bird buffers, they can go around them cleanly. They're a lot quieter than you might expect. And when they're done, the areas look more park-like. They look like they would after you'd see a fire move through an area. It really has this extraordinary ability to pick and choose areas that you want to reduce fire behavior in the future and mimic that effect, but in real time. And it's an attainable goal because you can afford it right now. We can do it right now. We have the skills and the people to do it in real time, and it's the quickest and safest way that we can get our job done and preserve and manage for the extraordinary biodiversity that exists in California and within California state parks.